Mulan, it's an honor to speak with you today. Your story has inspired generations. Let's begin with your journey. How would you describe your identity? Thank you for having me. My identity is complex. I was raised in a traditional family where duty and honor were closely tied to being a daughter and a future wife. But I also carry the spirit of a warrior. At first, I thought these identities were at odds, but over time, I learned that I could be both, loyal to my family and true to myself. That journey, balancing expectations with self-discovery, resonates deeply. When you first joined the Army disguised as a man, you faced rigid gender roles. How did you manage the stereotypes in your society? It was difficult. I had to perform masculinity in a way that fit the expectations of my fellow soldiers. I was standing in a certain way, I was speaking in a lower voice, and I was hiding my emotions. At the same time, I had to prove my worth constantly. In our society, strength was seen as a male trait, but I had to show that courage, intelligence, and resilience were not exclusive to men. Eventually, my skills spoke louder than my disguise. Many would say you shattered stereotypes, but did you ever struggle with self-doubt? Oh, absolutely. When I first arrived at the training camp, I felt like I didn't belong. Not as a soldier, not as a woman, not even as a version of myself that I recognized. The turning point came when I stopped trying to be someone else and focused on what I could uniquely bring to the battlefield. My strengths, strategy, adaptability, and determination, those became my greatest weapons. That moment of embracing yourself must have been empowering. But what about after the war, when you returned home? Did you feel included in your own community? It was an adjustment. I had left as a daughter trying to fit into a mold and returned as someone who had defied every expectation. My family was proud, but society wasn't quite sure where I belonged. I was no longer just Mulan, the dutiful daughter, nor was I simply a warrior. Over time, I realized I didn't need to choose. I could be both. Inclusion isn't just about others accepting me, it's about knowing I deserve my place in this world. That's powerful. Speaking of inclusion, how do you think your story has influenced the next generation, especially young girls who may feel trapped by societal roles and expectations? I hope my story reminds them that identity isn't something fixed. It's something we shape ourselves. Strength isn't measured by how well we fit into a role, but by how we rise beyond expectations. For any young girl feeling confined by roles that don't fit her heart, I want her to know, you can be gentle and strong, you can love tradition and still break barriers. Honor isn't in following one path, it's in walking along your own. That is a lesson many need to hear. As someone who challenged the norms of your time, what changes would you hope for in the future? I hope for a world where people aren't judged by their gender, but by their character. A world where a woman's strength isn't questioned and a man's vulnerability isn't shamed. In my time, I had to fight for respect. I hope future generations won't have to do that. That's a beautiful vision. If you could give advice to someone struggling with their identity today, what would it be? I would say, your journey is yours alone. Don't let others define it for you. Strength comes from knowing who you are, even when the world doesn't understand. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is be yourself. Those are very wise words. You prove that power isn't just about physical strength. It's about intelligence, resilience, and heart. What moment in your journey made you realize the true meaning of power? There were many moments, but the one that stands out was when I decided to reveal my true identity after saving China. I had been hiding behind my armor, proving myself as a soldier, but I knew that real power wasn't in pretending to be someone else. It was in owning who I was. When the emperor and the people bowed to me, not as a warrior in disguise, but as Mulan, a woman who saved her country, I understood that true power comes from authenticity, not just from skill or physical might. That's incredible. Many associate power with dominance or control, but you've shown it can also be about wisdom and integrity. Do you think the world you live in is changing its view on power? Like I said, it is. Slowly, though. When I first joined the army, no one believed a woman could fight or lead. But after everything, they saw that courage is not limited by gender. Change does take time, and not everyone will accept it right away. But every step forward creates space for those who come next. Speaking of change, let's talk about inclusion. You shattered barriers in a world that wasn't built for you. Do you feel a responsibility to help others do the same? Absolutely. My journey wasn't just about me. It was about showing that anyone, no matter their background, deserves a chance to prove themselves. I want young girls to know they can be warriors, leaders, and anything they dream of. And I want those who feel different or unheard to know that their voice matters. That is inspiring. But change often comes with resistance. How do you handle those who still hold onto old ways of thinking? With patience and persistence. I didn't expect to change everyone's mind overnight, but I can lead by example. When people see the impact of inclusion, stronger teams, new ideas, a better world, they start to understand its value. Before we wrap it up, I have to ask, if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing before she embarked on this journey, what would it be? I'd tell her, you are enough. I spent so much time feeling like I had to prove my worth by being someone else, but the truth is, I was always enough. I was brave enough, I was smart enough, and I was strong enough just as I was. That's a message so many people need to hear. Mulan, thank you for sharing your story and for sharing your wisdom with us today. Thank you, and to everyone watching, never be afraid to write your own story.